So we quiet ourselves as we open to the energies of Aries as a discipleship group, breathing easily and effortlessly. Maintaining a quiet in the physical body, a quiet in the emotional body, a stillness in the mental body, awakened, vitalized, and ready. And yet we realize that those three vehicles are not us. We are the soul. We ask for soul guidance and direction as we continue to open as a discipleship group. Breathe into the non-circulatory flow. Aries, of the moon. Gratitude to Harold Moses for sharing that beautiful melody of striving, underscored by what sounds like the raindrops of noble things entering into our field as we open to the energies of Aries and relate what we are learning to the science of relations as a discipleship group, covering the four keynotes, the rays, relating the centers, the fires, and beginning to look at the initiations as we develop sensitivity. We know from Master DK in a treatise on white magic that the life principle in man and woman manifests in a triple manner. So this is the manner in which we will approach this life principle in Aries, knowing that we can contact a directional will, purpose, and basic incentive, which begins to be known by the initiate as the sparks of an electric fire that come from the ray of the monad. And this is felt on an instinctual level. Secondly, as coherent force or quality, as the ray of the soul is known through solar fire, and the activity of the atoms and cells in which the physical body is composed, as the appearance or the ray of the personality, fire by friction, which where most of us and all of humanity is focused at this time. Ellen.
Heart Sloka number 17. At all times, the teaching of life is being poured forth upon the earth without interruption. It is impossible to imagine earthly existence without this link to the invisible world. As an anchor of salvation and a guiding light, the teaching strengthens one's advance through the darkness. But amidst the unceasing shower of grace, one can notice a rhythm like the swelling of the ocean's waves, in which a special expansion distinctly appears. It is then that the teachings manifest. In this way, you can explain the rhythm of the entire world as one of expansion and submersion. In other words, you can outline the evolution of being.
We've looked at the maps that DK gave us, and this is the map that was given in a treatise on cosmic fire that came from the Theosophical Society. And gradually what we're doing is we're going to remake this to remind us of where we are and relate the concepts that we're looking at. If we look at the downpouring of these life waves from the highest to the lowest, and along the left-hand column, see the point where touch comes into being on the Buddhic plane, the plane of bliss, the plane on which we can receive the touch of enlightenment, and where we are attempting to focus the causal body that is formed by the union of the second and third life waves. And let us consider that in relation to our planetary being, the second being its soul ray, and the third personality ray. So the causal body is where we become aware of and develop the consciousness of the soul in order to touch the Buddhic plane. And where most of humanity lives, on the astral plane, that plane of desire, passion, and at best come among us. And then where we express on the physical plane through prana. Ellen, if you can, would you continue?
All the appearances, expressions of qualities, and material evidences of life are the symbols or outer and visible signs of inner and spiritual realities, or of life, whatever you may mean by that term. For our purposes, we could define life as the energy emanating from certain great lives who stand behind our solar system as its life and source, much as the monad stands behind the appearance of a man upon the physical plane, or of the soul upon its own level. Man, it might be stated, is the expression of 7 principles and of the life expression or activity of the 5 planes. In this 7 plus 5 is to be found the clue to the mystery of the 7 and the 5 zodiacal constellations.
One of DK's maps that we look at and focus on, particularly in this series, that we may receive the touch of enlightenment as ideas stream from hierarchy into the higher mental plane through the receptivity that we are building of the causal body, the soul vehicle, the egoic lotus on the mental plane. And we endeavor to integrate the laws of the soul, which are the laws of group, particularly in Aries, the law of repulse, for we are governed by the law of attraction and repulsion. And we note this particularly as we receive the touch of acquiescence from the soul that allows us to develop, through discrimination, spiritual discernment, a response to group vibration, and eventually spiritual telepathy. Please go ahead, Catherine.
Before we continue, let us align as soul and as a group and see our group approaching Master DK's study. The eye of vision, indicating this time not the directing energy, but the conscious observer, the soul, whether cosmic, solar, or human. Imbuing the transmuting flow of energy from Shambhala to hierarchy to cleanse and purify the thoughts that stream into the body of humanity. brotherhood and sisterhood becoming true, pure collaboration and with the spiritual will. Compassionate, selfless, harmless, cooperative agents of love wisdom. We become the vessel of the transformative emerging ideas. Assume the attitude of the observer. From that point, observe the personality below. Visualize the etheric body. See energy flowing freely up and down the etheric spine. Consciously throw soul energy down into the center at the base of the spine, using the light of the soul. Then raise it slowly via the 5 centers up the etheric spine, pausing briefly at the heart center, and pausing again at the top of the etheric spine at the Alta Major center, then to Ajna and crown up into the soul body. Express the will to be and do. Unfold the power to manifest. Enter into battle for the Lord. Arrive at unity through effort.
Let us hold the keynotes of Aries, each as the light of life itself. Let Aries be connected with our soul intention and all vibratory activity, initiating this period of successive involutionary periods, which produce appearance upon the physical plane. Hold that which will be embodied in this period of Aries as humanity moves through the first of this cycle of 2025. Let us sound together. I am the soul, and also love I am. Above all else, I am both will and fixed design. My will is now to lift the lower self into the light divine. This light I am. Therefore, I must descend to where the lower self awaits my coming. That which desires to lift and that which cries aloud for lifting are now at one. Such is my will. We embody as a group, with all the groups working to lift the solar plexus of humanity to the heart. To bring about soul consciousness in humanity.
The invisible world is quite visible when the eye is unobstructed. You do not need mediumistic phenomena to sense the light of the highest world. Indeed, you can ascend only to the highest. That is why all the ruses of lower magic, relying as they do on force, pale in comparison with the first light of the heart. Though not many people know the fires of the heart, these torches must provide light for all. Heartslogger 20.
So we sound together the key words of the initiate in Aries. I come forth, and from the plane of mind, I rule.
There are many types of minds, and it is not to be expected that the information given, for instance, in this treatise will appeal to all. It should be remembered that all people are units of consciousness, breathed forth on one of the 7 emanations from God. Therefore, even their monads or spiritual aspects are inherently different. Just as in the prism, which is one, there are 7 differentiated colors. Even this is so only because of nature and the point of view. and the perceiving apparatus of the human being, whose eye registers and differentiates the varying rates of vibratory light. These 7 subsidiary groups again produce a varying outlook, mentality, and approach, all equally right, but all presenting a slightly different angle of vision. When the above realization is coupled to such factors as the different points in evolution, varying nationalities and characteristics, the inherent distinctions brought about through the interplay between the physical body involved and the environment, it will be apparent that no approach to such abstruse subjects as the nature of spirit and soul could have a general definition and submit themselves to a universal terminology.
So let us take DK's instructions to heart as we attempt to work as a group and in all of our groups, always recognizing the beacons of light that shine forth, and with patience and deep pondering, consider how we can unify and bring all the different perspectives together to form across nationalities, across rheology, across any differentiations, a united spirit, a united approach to lifting the soul consciousness of humanity.
There comes a life cycle wherein the disciple reverses upon the wheel of life, the zodiacal wheel, and from going clockwise around the zodiac, the disciple now begins to go anti-clockwise. The disciple learns that the substance aspect of one's nature may still be conditioned by the forces flowing through them sequentially and serially, and according to the individual horoscope, and according to the exoteric mode of the zodiacal revolution. At the same time, the disciple is receiving energy currents from the reversed wheel, whereon the disciple, as a soul, finds the self. The disciple is consequently the recipient of 2 currents of energy, going in reverse directions. Hence, the increased conflict in the life and circumstances. These constitute the reason for the tests of initiation.
Master DK advises, know the self and proceed slowly and with caution. How often we need to remind ourselves as we work in group, as disciples, that we are dealing with these tests of initiation.
This, on a tiny scale, is true of the centers in the etheric body of the disciple. They too evidence the same dual activity once the path of discipleship is trodden and the path of initiation is entered. The zodiacal wheel is itself essentially a cosmic center. It is a 12-petaled lotus. But it is a 12-petaled lotus within the 1,000-petaled lotus of an unknown cosmic entity, the one referred to in my Master Decay's earlier books as the one about whom naught may be said. The multiplicity of zodiacal influences have eventually a dual effect, one upon Shambhala, the planetary head center, and the other upon the hierarchy, the planetary heart center. The effect is also felt in the head center and the heart center of every initiate. This final dual activity is registered by the initiate of the highest degrees when he undergoes the 8th and the 9th initiations. The other 7 initiations are governed by the 7 rays.
The major focal point of energy is to be found in human beings is that of the soul, but its potency as an agent of cohesion and of integration is as yet greater than its quality potency. In the earlier stages of human evolution, it is the coherence aspect that demonstrates. Later, as a man's response apparatus or bodies become more developed, the quality aspect of the soul begins to demonstrate increasingly. Esoteric healing. That unfoldment which takes place as the physical plane child grows from an infant to a man. By the time he is 21, the centers should normally have reached the same quality of expression as they had attained when he passed out of life in a previous incarnation. The man then takes up life where he had previously left it off. The awakening of the centers through life experience. Occasionally, only one center may be dealt with in any one life. Sometimes several are brought into greater functioning consciousness. There is, finally, the waking of these centers through the process of initiation. This, of course, only happens when the man is consciously upon the path. Esoteric healing.
This is a map of the information Dwalkul gives us in the rays and initiations related to these initiations. And you will note from the bottom up, so at the very bottom is initiation 5 that I placed in this particular arrangement according to the center that that initiation relates to. So we are not, in our experience, relating to the 5th initiation in the base of the spine, but in relation to humanity, to the 1st initiation, the birth, involving the sacral center, the 7th ray, and the physical etheric plane, where these beginnings occur, relationships are established, and sex magic takes hold of this process. And this is where you can see in many cultures the effect and the impact of the negative side, the downward spiral, versus the upward spiral in relation to the 1st initiation that humanity is approaching, the birth of the Christ consciousness in the heart. Most initiates and disciples that we know and work with are endeavoring to work toward the 2nd initiation, that of the baptism, the waters of life. And this involves the solar plexus center. And the sixth ray is dominant in the life of that initiate. There is glamour that becomes the obstacle to the achievement of that initiation. And dedication and devotion that come through the sixth ray assist the initiate in overcoming the thraldom of the astral plane and the glamours and illusions. There are some among us who are working toward the third initiation, the transfiguration, working to develop and open the Ajna center and to achieve control and mastery of the mental plane. This is where the will becomes vital direction for the integration and the study and understanding of the sciences, the esoteric sciences. And thus, in our work together, we focus on the new astrology by understanding esoterically the science of the rays, the science of the triangles, and the science of the centers. So this is the big picture. And as you ponder in Aries, consider how this new Neptunian energy of Aries in the first degree can begin to influence the initiatory process. Or this will be focused, I believe, in the Christ consciousness, and Christ is achieving the seventh initiation. And if you look to the top, that is the second degree, and it is the head center of our planet, Shambhala, on the logoic plane. And this is the initiation of the eternal pilgrim. So there's much to ponder, much to bring forth, and I would encourage you in the coming week to jot down any particular insights that you have that you can share before our meeting begins next Sunday, where we will look at the will specifically. Donna, would you continue?
Humanity is today engaged on the battlefield. The world disciple is struggling as the angel of the presence meet the dweller on the threshold. This dweller is the sum total of all the personality characteristics which have remained unconquered and unsubdued, and which must be finally overcome before initiation can be taken. Each life sees some progress made, some personality defects straightened out, and some real advance effected. But the unconquered residue and the ancient liabilities are numerous and excessively potent, and when soul contact is adequately established, there eventuates a life wherein the highly developed and powerful personality becomes in itself the dweller on the threshold.
As you reflect on this teaching, consider in your experience, in an experience of your nation, group, what you are beginning to identify as in this civilization that is coming to a close, this dweller, and what characteristics can be conquered and allow the angel of the presence to take hold in the consciousness of more nations and more segments of humanity as the first initiation is taken and as the Aquarian age unfolds, endeavoring to think on as large a scale as you are capable of considering, and moving to that attitude and altitude of the observer in terms of the current struggles in the planetary life of humanity. So let us hold focus, soul focus for ourselves, that attitude of the observer for each other and for our group, and extend that soul focus to include all the groups with which we are affiliated in developing the sensitivity of a unified soul consciousness. The sun aspect is the quality of sensitivity. The love aspect, the nature of relationship. Wisdom and understanding, the method of evolution. And consciousness and soul, the note of attractive sound. Listen for the note of the soul. Utilizing the consciousness thread. For the mental plane must be bridged. And it's like a great stream of consciousness or of conscious substance. And across this stream, the antakarana must be constructed. This is the concept which lies behind this teaching and behind the symbolism of the path. The construction of the antakarana, the symbolism of the path, with solar fire, within the fire of mind, focused within the head's clear light, let the group stand. Sensitivity to that which is found within oneself. This, when the consciousness is adequately self-sufficient, opens a door for the entrance of energies coming from the middle center, the hierarchy, the heart center. DK says, I speak in symbols, and for those whose knowledge of cosmic location and of points in time and space will enable them to comprehend. To the uninitiate, Master Dwal Kul states this simply: respond to soul impact. Let us envision the group antakarana, extending from each initiate of the first degree upward across the plane of the higher mind, and sound the words of power, imaginatively seeing the great band of light extending to the Maitreya, the Christ, along the rays, potently impacting humanity in Aries, we invoke to evoke from the highest level possible. I see the greatest light across this great band, the word of power of the second ray of our solar systemic soul ruler of our planetary consciousness, the second ray ashram merging with the first ray. I assert the fact, the word of power of the first ray of will, blending with the second ray ashram, as the ashram of synthesis grows in influence. Let us invoke as we stream lines of light across this great band of light, two merge with one. The word of power of the incoming fourth ray of harmony through conflict, growing in influence in this ray cycle beginning now. The highest light controls our projection of this light, the word of power of the sixth ray, diminishing in power and influence at this time, and opening to the second ray. I see the greatest light, the Neptunian energy, entering as the cosmic Christ influence, beginning as a flicker. The highest and the lowest meet. The word of power of the seventh ray, the ray of order and ritual and ceremony, increasing at this time as the Aquarian age and the ashram of synthesis emerge in influence and prominence. Project your line of light, our group line of light, across this vast band, invoking the powers of the hierarchy and Shambhala. Thus evoked, return to us to awaken soul consciousness in humanity. We're told the fires of the mental plane demonstrate in a twofold manner. First is the fire of mind, the basis of all expression, and in one peculiar occult sense, the sum total of existence. It provides the relation between the life and the form, between spirit and matter, and is the basis of consciousness itself, solar fire. Within the fire of mind, focused within the head's clear light, let the group stand. The burning ground has done its work. The clear, cold light shines forth, and cold it is. And yet the heat evoked by the group love permits the warmth of energetic moving out. The fire of the mental plane, the second fire, the fire of form, as the elementals of fire, or the sum total of the active expression of thought, showing itself through the medium of those entities who, in their very essence, are fire itself, producing fire by friction, appearance, the warmth of the group love, which permits energetic moving out. Foundational to all our service, meditation, and study of the new astrology in this sign are the rays in Aries, the first ray, seventh ray, the second, fourth, and sixth. Therefore, we focus on the science of the rays.
Rays that flow through Aries are curiously balanced. Rays 1 and 7 are the highest and the lowest, and therefore demand a point of balance upon the wheel which is provided in Libra. Rays 6 and 4 bring to this balancing process the energy of the second ray, the major building ray, which enables the man to build anew and provide himself with a spiritual body of manifestation.
Let us in Aries consider a synthesis of these rays emerging in the ideas that we bring forward.
Aries is also the purveyor to our solar system of fire, electric fire, and of the dynamic nature of God, which has in it the qualities of fostering and nourishing heat, and also of the fire which burns and destroys, destruction and death. We consider that which must be destroyed for the new beginnings to take hold.
Ponder on this question as you relate to Aries in this synthetic way, bringing all the rays together, and the impact of the law of abstraction that influences dynamically in Aries in particular, because of the fire and the fires. What must be destroyed for the new beginnings to take hold. And please share these when we meet before next Sunday's session. Consider the first rule for disciples and initiates. Within the fire of mind, focused within the head's clear light, let the group stand. The burning ground has done its work. The clear, cold light shines forth, and cold it is, and yet the heat, evoked by the group love, permits the warmth of energetic moving out. Behind the group there stands the door. Before them opens out the way. Together let the band of brothers onward move, out of the fire, into the cold, and toward a newer tension. Tension, that focused, immovable will that we will speak about in more detail when we meet together for part 3. And the fire. So also reflect and ponder on the impact of the Aries new moon. Please make some notes and share these with us before we meet next Sunday. Martha, would you share this with our group?
Be reminded the 3 demonstrations Master DK offers to, quote, sum up the work the disciple accomplishes as he struggles with and masters the energies of the mental world. Treatise on White Magic, page 386. 1. Work on the mental plane produces realization of duality. The disciple seeks to blend and merge the soul with its vehicle, and to do this consciously. The disciple seeks to fuse them into a unity. The disciple aims at the realization that here and now they are one. The unification of the self and of the not self is the objective. The first step in this direction is taken when the disciple begins to cease identifying the self with the form and recognizes during this transitional period that the disciple is a duality. 2, the mind rightly used becomes therefore a recorder of 2 types of energy or of 2 aspects of the manifestation of the one life. It records and interprets the world of phenomena. It records and interprets the world of souls. It is sensitive to the 3 worlds of human evolution. It becomes equally sensitive to the kingdom of the soul. It is the great mediating principle in this interim of dual recognition. 3. Later, the soul and its instrument become so unified and at one that duality disappears, and the soul knows itself to be all that is, all that has been, and all that will be.
So we consider these three demonstrations and consider them potentially in relation to the initiations. Does Master DK provide us with a hint? That which is achieved with the first initiation. Work on the mental plane, producing a realization of duality. The second initiation, the mind rightly used, becoming a recorder of the two types of energy. Recognition. And 3, possibly the third, and certainly the fourth initiation, where the soul and its instrument become so unified and at one that duality disappears. Something to ponder, particularly as we attempt to bring down ideas. Which word do you choose to utilize this week? Maybe the same that you chose. It may be something new, a word to hold as you ponder on these teachings in the coming week and the energies of Aries. The synthesis of these rays, the first ray, the seventh ray, the second, fourth, and sixth. Martha, would you continue for us, please?
Disciples must be taught this work of presentation and the relation of time and the event. A right sense of timing is something that every worker for the hierarchy must cultivate. Before, however, the disciple can do this, the disciple has to recognize and work with ideas himself, learn the mode of approach and the consequent use of that, quote, rain cloud of knowable things, unquote, to which Patanjali refers, and later, how to translate these contacted ideas into practical ideals. As time proceeds, this, quote, rain cloud, unquote, will become more generally recognized. Scientists will begin to realize that it is the true source or fount of all ideas and of the inspiration which makes their work possible. They will develop a technique of directed concentration, which will enable them to attain that source of ideas and to profit by its existence. Some time needs to be spent in determining what practical means in terms of ideals.
Seen from the inner side where time is not, the human creature demonstrates as an amazing kaleidoscope, mutable phenomena. Bodies so called, or rather aggregates of atomic units, fade out and disappear, or flash again into manifestation. Streams of colors pass and repass. They twine or intertwine. Certain areas will then suddenly intensify their brightness and blaze forth with brilliance, or again, they can be seen dying out, and the phenomena in certain areas will be colorless and apparently non-existent. But always there is a persistent overshadowing light from which a stream of lights pours down into the phenomenal man. This can be seen attaching itself in two major localities to the dense inner core of the physical man. These 2 points of attachment are to be found in the head and in the heart. There can also be seen, dimly at first but with increasing brightness, 7 other pale discs of light, which are the early evidence of the 7 centers.
As we move forward in our discussion and probing into the science of the centers, DK gives us this description of what we can experience along the path as we begin to develop a higher psychic ability with discrimination. And I think as we reflect on teaching and teachers and gurus, those we are attracted to, we are attracted to their light, and to differentiate and to know and understand that the light is representing something behind it, an essence, so that when a guru or a teacher or a valued disciple passes on, if we think of the law of abstraction, we are holding to the higher light or essence, and that is not lost when a death occurs. I note this because Aries as Pisces were points of transition as we begin to consider death as a concept. And DK encourages us to think and utilize the law of abstraction for what we are letting go of. The death is the death of that which is the lower, that is not this blazing, brilliant light. It is that which falls away, and it is colorless and non-existent. But the overshadowing, persistent light is that which to which we hold. So as ideas are developed and shared, we're doing it with the heart and the head and the Ajna center, which we will develop further understanding of as we move into the next zodiacal sign. But we will keep this in mind as we consider the centers and the science of the centers.
Nothing will obscure it if the heart is pure. It was wise to liken the heart to a ship. But where there is a ship, there is a helmsman. Courage is born of a pure heart. One might compare it to a rose, where the significance of the flower lies in the number of its petals. If they are torn off, the flower as a whole is injured. Therefore, guard the defenses of the heart. Wisely understand that only the Lord of the flower has access to all its petals. From Heart Sloka 15.
And to bring this into relation with other teachings we have covered, the heart is mind. The heart is group. Courage is born of a pure heart. The relationship with our group, with the soul, with the mind, must be pure and guard the heart. We are given this beautiful mantra for the new group of world servers, the group to which we endeavor to be affiliated and to draw down the energies of the great new group of world servers as the bridge, the mediating, subjective group between hierarchy and humanity. So we think of this life principle in relation to the group of the new group of world servers in a triple manner. As the directional will, the purpose, the basic incentive, so the power of the one life pouring through the new group. As a coherent force, the love of the one soul characterizing the life, the love, the being of our group life as a coherent force. And then the life principle as the activity of the atoms and cells which the physical body is composed, that we fulfill our part in the one work through self-forgetfulness, harmlessness, and right speech. To which I will add Michael Robbins' words, right application of divine ideas.
I would remind you that all ideas stream into the planetary consciousness along the channel of the 7 rays. Thus, the hierarchy is wide open, in any case, to the 7 major groups of ideas, which are the idea of God for any specific point in time, expressed in 7 major ways, all of them equally right and serving the sevenfold need of humanity. Each of these 7 formulations of God's idea has its specific contribution to make. Each of them is a true idea which has its part to play in human or planetary service. And each of them is so interrelated with the other 6 expressions of the same divine idea, working out as ideals upon the mental plane, that there can be no narrowing down to one idea with its ramifications, as happens among men.
And the streaming of these great ideas follows into and through each level of the etheric cosmic plane in relation to the science of the centers, in relation to the new group of world servers, the great triangle of the avatar of synthesis, the spirit of peace, and the Lord Buddha. There is a direct relationship to the new group of world servers coming from the avatar of synthesis. And we might posit that the new group of world servers as a subjective entity is pivotal in developing the ashram of synthesis. In relation to ideas, the mind previously has been the recipient of the archetypal idea as grasped and visualized by the soul. In its turn, the soul is the recipient of the formula as presented to it in the world of ideas. And we are told that we thus have the presented idea, the highest, the perceived idea, that which is brought into the consciousness of the new group, the formulated idea that emerges with contact from the new group, and then the idea working out into manifestation through the soul. So these spiritual agents in the new group of world servers, bringing these ideas into a form which then can be translated by senior disciples under the influence of the soul consciousness to be shared with humanity. And then into the thinkers of the race and the scientists to activate through the throat center humanity. It's a very interesting process of stepping down the purpose and the plan.
Every externalized idea is, therefore, possessed of form, animated by desire, and created by the power of the mind. The desire plane is the one upon which the mind imposes its conceptions in order to produce the, quote, idea incarnate, to clothe the idea in form. It is therefore the gestation ground. The mind previously has been the recipient of the archetypal idea as grasped and visualized by the soul. In its turn, the soul is the recipient of the formula as presented to it in the world of ideas. You have thus the, quote, presented idea, the perceived idea, and the formulated idea, and the idea working out into manifestation. Let us align with the new group of world servers, the subjective planetary center serving as the bridge between hierarchy and humanity. And say together, may the power of the one life pour through the group of all true servers. May the love of the one soul characterize the lives of all who seek to aid the great ones. May we fulfill our part in the one work through self-forgetfulness, harmlessness, and right speech. And from Michael Robbins, may we find right application of divine ideas.
a developed sensitivity which emerges from the furthest center, at first unconsciously employed, and later consciously directed and attuned, a fully magnetic and attractive sensitivity. Forget not that true interplay imposes the condition of reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
Thank you, reciprocity. And that the 2 points of termini of a line eventually vibrate in unison.
From the heart. Our hand will not get tired of extending the saving thread to the heart. Who can justly say that we were late in offering help? But we can cite many occasions when our messenger was frozen by people's heartlessness. It is so hard to bring into action the potential of the heart. One must manifest a flight over the abyss, as if soaring from the last shore into the infinite. How sacred is the courage of selflessness, which opens up the heart.
Yet nothing will obscure it if the heart is pure. It is wise to liken the heart to a ship, but where there is a ship, there is a helmsman. Courage is born of a pure heart. One might compare it to a rose, where the significance of the flower lies in the number of its petals. If they are torn off, the flower as a whole is injured. Therefore, guard the defenses of the heart. Wisely understand that only the Lord of the flower has access to all its petals. Think of the heart center and the qualities of the heart that we are given by Master Dwal Kul. In previous sessions, we've been encouraged to select a quality. Life was the quality that was selected for our work and time together in Aries. As we move forward, let us practice the quality of patience and humility as we move through Aries and approach Taurus. And guard the heart, the 12 qualities, the 12 petals that the Lord of the flower has access to. The head center has access to all its petals. Some call it the cave in the head, but it is the heart in the head, that point of unity of head and heart.
No.
Disciples and initiates in Aries and Libra achieve equilibrium, the point of rest, which provides the mental impetus for soul control. Passion is transmuted into love, and the initial desire of Aries becomes the full expression of love wisdom. Desire to manifest becomes the aspiration to be.
The value of these instructions lies in their sum total and is to be found in the underlying structure or skeleton of coordinated and correlated statements.
Sorry, Martha.
No problem. 1. Language, as earlier said, hides truth and does not reveal it. If truth is recognized, it is because the investigating student has found a point of truth in himself, which serves to illumine his steps as he slowly and gradually presses forward.
Thus, we have the formula that we're using in this series, which is to gather from the teachings, from the structure and the skeleton, not only of the blue books, but we're incorporating from Agni Yoga. And as you reveal the truth that you found hidden, please make note, for it is a truth that you have found in yourself, and in sharing it, you illumine the steps of all as we slowly and gradually press forward in this year, 2025, to bring ourselves to a higher point of awareness and into the process of becoming. So please share any reflections, and then we'll incorporate those as we move forward, meeting about 20 minutes before our start time next Sunday. So we close today with a great invocation sounded in German, for Germany's soul sign is in Aries. Breathing deeply and consciously into not only the teachings, but the soul consciousness that is developing within us as a group, and connecting to all the beams of light in all of the groups that we are affiliated with, and all of the nations, moving forward to greater soul consciousness.
Aus dem Quell des Lichts im Denken Gottes ströme Licht herab ins Menschendenken. Es werde Licht auf Erden. Aus dem Quell der Liebe im Herzen Gottes ströme Liebe aus in alle Menschenherzen. Möge Christus wiederkommen auf Erden. Aus dem Zentrum, das den Willen Gottes kennt, lenke Plan, beseelte Kraft die kleinen Menschenwillen zu dem Endziel, dem die Meister wissend dienen. Durch das Zentrum, das wir Menschheit nennen, entfalte sich der Plan der Liebe und des Lichts und siegle zu die Tür zum Übel. Mögen Licht und Liebe und Kraft den Plan auf Erden wiederherstellen. Om.